If you are seeing this on March 14th, do not skip it. Do not scroll past it. Do not tell yourself that you will come back later, because something in your spirit already knows that this moment is not random. There are thousands of voices speaking every day, thousands of messages fighting for attention, but something about this one pulled you in, something made you stop. And right now, in this exact moment, there is a quiet but powerful truth echoing inside your heart. This message feels personal, it feels direct, it feels like it was waiting for you, and maybe, just maybe, that feeling is not your imagination. Maybe it is the whisper of God reaching through the noise of the world to remind you that you are not forgotten, not abandoned, and certainly not walking through this life alone. Listen carefully. Today is not just another day on the calendar. March 14th is not simply a date that will pass like any other. For someone listening to these words right now, this day is a point. It is a spiritual point, a moment when God is reminding you to pause, to breathe, and to remember who truly controls your destiny. Because life has a way of exhausting the human soul. There are seasons when the weight of responsibility feels overwhelming. There are days when your strength feels like it is fading. There are nights when you lie awake wondering if the struggles you face will ever end. And in those quiet moments of doubt, the mind begins to ask dangerous questions like, why is this happening to me? Will things ever change? Does anyone see what I am going through? But hear this clearly. God sees everything. God sees the battles you never speak about. God sees the tears that fall when no one else is around. God sees the moments when you forced yourself to keep moving forward, even when your heart felt heavy. Nothing escapes the awareness of God. Not the smallest effort, not the quietest prayer, not the hidden pain buried deep in your chest. And today, on this very day, there is a reason this reminder is reaching you. You have been walking through a season that has tested your patience, your faith, and your endurance. It has felt like doors are slow to open. It has felt like answers take longer than expected. You have watched others move ahead while you remained in the waiting room of life. And sometimes that waiting can create confusion. Sometimes it can even create frustration. But what you must understand is, delay is not denial. Silence does not mean absence. Just because you cannot see the movement of God does not mean God is not moving. God is always working behind the scenes of your life. Think about the moments in your past that once looked impossible. Think about the situations you once believed would break you. At the time, they felt unbearable. At the time, you could not see a way forward. Yet here you are today. You survived what you thought would destroy you. You stood up again after moments that knocked you down. That was not luck. That was not coincidence. That was the quiet power of God carrying you through storms you could not survive on your own. And if God carried you through those storms, what makes you think the storms you face now will be any different? The human mind often focuses on what is missing instead of what has already been provided. It looks at the problems instead of the protection. It counts the disappointments instead of the miracles. But faith requires a different perspective. Faith means trusting that God's plan is larger than your current circumstances. It means believing that the chapter you are in right now is not the final page of your story. Right now, someone listening to these words feels tired. Not just physically tired, but spiritually tired. You have been strong for so long that you forgot what it feels like to rest. You have been patient for so long that you began to wonder if patience even matters. And you may even be asking yourself whether the prayers you whispered into the silence were heard. They were heard. Every sigh, every quiet plea that rose from your heart, God heard it all. But understand something important. God does not operate on the timetable of human impatience. The timing of God is perfect in ways that the human mind cannot always comprehend. When something is delayed, it is often because preparation is still taking place. Seeds planted in the soil do not grow overnight. Roots must develop before growth becomes visible. Strength must develop before responsibility increases. God prepares people before elevating them. That preparation sometimes comes through challenges. It sometimes comes through waiting seasons that stretch the soul. But those seasons are not punishments. They are transformations. They are shaping you into someone stronger, wiser, and more resilient than you were before. If life had given you everything easily, you would not have developed the strength you today. And make no mistake about it, you are stronger than you think. You may not always feel powerful. You may not always feel confident. But strength is not measured by how easy life has been. Strength is measured by how many times you stood back up after life tried to knock you down. It is measured by how many mornings you woke up and kept going even when you felt like giving up. God has been building that strength inside you piece by piece, even the painful experiences you wish you. He could erase have played a role in shaping who you are today. They taught you discernment. They taught you resilience. They taught you to recognize what truly matters in life. Without those lessons, you would not have the wisdom you carry now. And here is the truth that many people overlook. Sometimes the hardest seasons are the ones that bring you closest to God. When life is comfortable, the human heart often becomes distracted. It chases temporary pleasures and forgets deeper purpose. But when life becomes difficult, something changes. The soul begins searching for something greater than temporary solutions. It begins reaching upward for guidance, for strength, for peace that the world cannot provide. That search often leads directly back to God. And perhaps that is why you are here today listening to these words on March 14th. Not because of coincidence, but because your spirit was searching for a reminder. A reminder that the struggle you face is not permanent. A reminder that the weight you carry does not define your future. God is still writing your story. And the most powerful chapters often appear after the most difficult trials. Right now, there may be obstacles in your path. There may be uncertainty about where life is heading. But uncertainty is not the same as failure. Uncertainty simply means the path is still unfolding. It means the destination has not yet been fully revealed. Trust the process. Trust that God knows exactly where you are and exactly where you are to go. You do not need to have every answer today. You do not need to understand every delay. Your responsibility is not to control every outcome. Your responsibility is to remain faithful, to remain patient, and to continue moving forward with courage. Because courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is the decision to keep moving even when fear whispers that you cannot. And today God is reminding you that you can. You can survive this season. You can overcome the obstacles you can rebuild what feels broken. You can rediscover hope even if disappointment has clouded your vision. There is still purpose in your life. There is still opportunity waiting ahead. There are still doors that will open at the exact moment God intends them to open. But sometimes those doors require you to keep walking even when you cannot see them yet. That is the essence of faith. Faith is stepping forward even when the road ahead is unclear. Faith is believing that God is guiding you even when you cannot see the entire map. And if you have made it this far in life, through every challenge, every disappointment, every moment of uncertainty, then understand this: God did not bring you this far just to leave you here. Your journey is not finished. Your story is not over. Your purpose is still unfolding. So if you are seeing this message on March 14, take a moment to breathe deeply and reflect on how far you have come. Reflect on the battles you have already survived. Reflect on the strength that has grown inside you through every trial. You are not the same person you were years ago. You are wiser now. You are stronger now. And because of that growth, you are prepared for the next chapter God is bringing into your life. Do not let doubt steal your hope. Do not let temporary setbacks convince you that your future is limited. The same God who carried you through yesterday is guiding you today and preparing blessings for tomorrow. Even if the path ahead is still hidden, trust that it exists. Even if the answers have not arrived yet, trust that they will. Because God's plan for your life has never been dependent on human timelines or human expectations. It has always been guided by divine wisdom, and that wisdom never fails. So stand tall today. Lift your heart beyond the worries of the moment. Remember that your life has meaning, your journey has purpose, and your future is still filled with possibilities that you cannot yet imagine. God is not finished with you, not even close. The story continues, the strength grows, and the plan unfolds exactly when it is meant to. And perhaps the reason you stopped to hear this message today is because God wanted to remind you of something powerful, something simple, something eternal. You are seen, you are guided, you are protected, and your journey is still moving forward under the watchful care of God. And now, in this moment, as you continue listening, something deeper must be understood. The fact that you are still here, still breathing, still searching, still hoping, is itself a sign of something powerful unfolding within your life. The world often teaches people to measure success by what they see immediately. It teaches them to look for quick victories, visible rewards, and instant answers. But the path that God designs is not shallow, and it is never rushed. The path designed by God is deeper than what the eyes can see. It is a journey that transforms the heart, strengthens He prepares a person for a purpose greater than temporary success. There are moments in life when you feel as though nothing is moving. Days pass, weeks pass, sometimes even years pass, and the progress you hoped for seems invisible. But what many people do not realize is that God often does the most powerful work in the hidden seasons. When a seed is placed in the soil, the ground above it appears silent. Nothing seems to be happening. Yet beneath that quiet surface, roots are in, strength is forming, life is pushing forward in ways the eye cannot observe. And when the time is right, that hidden process suddenly becomes visible growth. Your life has been going through a similar process. The quiet seasons you endured were not empty seasons. The waiting periods were not wasted time. God was shaping something inside you that the world could not see. Your patience was being stretched. Your understanding was deepening. Your resilience was becoming stronger. Internal transformations are far more valuable than quick achievements because they build a foundation that cannot be easily shaken. There are people who reach success quickly but collapse when challenges appear because their foundation was never built with strength. God does not build lives that fragile. When God prepares someone for purpose, preparation takes time. It takes experiences that refine the heart and sharpen the mind. It takes moments of reflection where a person learns to trust beyond what they can immediately control. Perhaps you have wondered why certain doors did not open when you expected them to. Perhaps you questioned why certain opportunities disappeared just when they seemed close. But what if those closed doors were actually protection? What if God was guiding you away from paths that looked appealing but would have led you into unnecessary struggle? The human perspective is limited. It sees only the moment directly in front of it. But God sees the entire road. God sees the consequences of decisions that humans cannot yet understand. Sometimes the greatest blessing is not the opportunity that appears, but the one that quietly disappears before it can cause harm. Think about how many times in life you felt disappointed about something that did not work out, only to later realize that it was actually a turning point that led you somewhere better. That realization does not happen by accident. It is evidence that God's wisdom operates far beyond human planning. This is why faith must remain stronger than fear. Fear speaks loudly when the future feels uncertain. Fear whispers that failure is waiting ahead. Fear tries to convince the heart that the obstacles in front of you are too great. But faith answers those whispers with a deeper truth. Faith reminds you that the same God who created the vast heavens and the smallest details of the earth is fully capable of guiding the course of your life. Nothing you face is too complicated for God. No problem you encounter is too heavy for God to handle. When you truly understand this, something begins to change inside your perspective. Instead of seeing yourself as someone struggling alone against life's challenges, you begin to recognize that you are walking with guidance far greater than your own strength. And that understanding brings a kind of peace that the world cannot easily explain. Peace does not mean that challenges disappear overnight. It means that even when challenges remain, your heart no longer feels defeated by them. It means you carry a quiet confidence that no matter what appears ahead, God already knows the solution. There is power in that confidence. It allows you to wake up each day with determination rather than anxiety. It allows you to move forward even when circumstances are uncertain. It allows you to trust that every step taken with sincere intention and faith is being observed and guided by God. But there is another truth that must be spoken today. Some of the battles you have faced were never meant to break you. They were meant to reveal the strength God placed inside you. Think about the difficult moments that once felt unbearable. At the time, they looked like the end of the road. Yet those moments eventually became proof of your resilience. They showed you that you are capable of enduring more than you ever believed possible. God does not place strength inside a person by accident. That strength exists for a reason. It exists because you are meant to overcome. It exists because there are people you will one day inspire simply by the story of how you refuse to give up. It exists because your journey carries lessons that will help others find courage during their own struggles. Every hardship you survived added depth to your character. It added wisdom that cannot be learned from comfort alone. And now as you stand where you are today, those experiences have quietly prepared you for the next chapter of your life. The next chapter may require courage. It may require stepping forward even when certainty has not yet appeared. It may require trusting God in ways you have never done before. But understand something powerful. You would not be called toward greater purpose if you were not capable of fulfilling it. God does not guide people toward responsibilities they cannot handle. Preparation always comes before elevation. The lessons you learned during your difficult seasons were not random. They were training for patience, training for wisdom, training for the kind of strength that remains steady even when circumstances change. Now imagine what could happen if you truly embraced that truth. Imagine waking up tomorrow with the understanding that your life is not drifting without direction. Imagine moving through each day with the confidence that every challenge you encounter is simply another opportunity for God to demonstrate guidance. That shift in mindset is everything. Instead of feeling overwhelmed by obstacles, you begin to see them as moments where faith can grow stronger. Instead of allowing disappointment to silence your hope, you allow it to deepen your trust that God is preparing something better. Hope becomes your foundation, and hope built on faith is incredibly powerful. The world often tries to convince people that hope is fragile. It tells them that hope is naive, that expecting good outcomes will only lead to disappointment. But hope rooted in trust toward God is not fragile at all. It is resilient. It is steady. It is capable of surviving even the darkest circumstances because it is not based on temporary events. It is based on the unchanging wisdom of God. When you anchor your heart in that truth, storms lose much of their power. They may still shake the environment around you, but they cannot destroy the foundation beneath you. And perhaps this is the message you are meant to hear today. Not just that life will improve someday, but that right now, even in the middle of uncertainty, you are being guided by something greater than chance. Every step you take with sincerity matters. Every effort you make to stay hopeful matters. Every moment you choose faith over fear matters. God sees those choices. God honors perseverance, and in ways that often appear quietly at first, those choices begin to open doors that once seemed unreachable. There will come a time when you look back at this season and recognize it truly was. What feels like struggle today will later reveal itself as preparation. What feels like waiting today will later reveal itself as alignment with a greater plan. When that realization arrives, you will understand that nothing you experienced was meaningless. Not the pain, not the confusion, not the moments when you wondered whether you were strong enough to continue. All of it played a role in shaping the person you are becoming. And the person you are becoming is someone capable of far more than you currently imagine. So if today is March 14th and these words found their way to you, take it as a reminder to lift your perspective higher. Do not allow temporary difficulties to define the direction of your life. Do not allow doubt to silence the quiet voice of faith inside your heart. God's guidance is still active. God's wisdom is still unfolding. God's plan is still moving forward, even in ways you cannot yet see. And the future that waits ahead of you is not determined by fear, by setbacks, or by the limitations others may have placed on you. It is shaped by the power, wisdom, and mercy of God. So stand firm in your faith. Walk forward with courage. Continue believing that the story of your life is still unfolding under divine guidance, because when God writes the next chapter of a person's journey, it is often more extraordinary than anything they could have imagined on their own, and the next chapter of your life may be closer than you think. As you continue to listen, allow this truth to settle deeply within your heart. There are moments in life when God interrupts the ordinary flow of your days to deliver a reminder, a wake-up call for the soul, not a loud announcement that shakes the earth, but a quiet stirring that reaches directly into your spirit. A moment where something inside you pauses and says, pay attention, this matters. And if you are still here, still listening, still allowing these words to reach you, then perhaps this moment is one of those divine interruptions. Because many people are moving through life on autopilot. They wake up, they rush through responsibilities, they carry burdens silently, and they rarely stop long enough to reflect on the deeper meaning of their journey. The noise of the world is constant. The distractions are endless. Yet in the middle of that noise, God calls people back to awareness. God calls them to remember who truly holds their future. And today that reminder is reaching you, not because you are perfect, not because you have always done everything right, but because God's mercy and guidance are greater than human mistakes. There is a misconception many people carry in their hearts, a quiet belief that their past failures somehow disqualify them from future blessings. They think that because they stumble, because they made decisions they regret, the door to a better future must now be closed. But that belief is not truth. God's mercy is vast. Wisdom sees beyond the errors of yesterday and looks toward the possibilities of tomorrow. Human beings often hold on to guilt longer than they should, allowing past mistakes to become chains that restrict their movement forward. But God does not design life to be a prison of regret. God designs life as a journey of learning, growth, and transformation. Your past may contain mistakes, but it also contains lessons. Your past may contain pain, but it also contains strength you discovered because of. Your past may contain moments you wish you could change, but those moments help shape the awareness you carry today. God does not waste experiences. Even the difficult ones become tools for growth when a person turns their heart back toward truth. And that means something powerful for you right now. It means the story of your life is not defined by what went wrong. It is defined by how you rise afterward. It is defined by how you continue seeking guidance, how you continue striving to improve, how you continue trusting that God's plan extends beyond the mistakes you once made. There are people who remain stuck because they believe their past has permanently limited their future. But there are also people who rise with humility and determination, who accept their lessons and move forward with renewed faith. Those are the people who eventually witness how God can transform even their struggles into stepping stones towards something better. Perhaps you are standing in a moment where you must make that choice, the choice to remain trapped in old regrets, or the choice to walk forward with faith that God is still guiding your path. Faith is not about pretending that life has been easy. Faith is about recognizing that no matter how complicated life has been, God's guidance remains available to those who sincerely seek it. And when a person truly seeks that guidance, something remarkable begins to happen inside them. Their perspective begins to change. They start to see differently. They begin to understand that every day is another opportunity to align their heart with what is right and meaningful. You do not have to be perfect to move forward. You simply have to be sincere. Sincere in your intentions. Sincere in your desire to grow. Sincere in your trust that God's wisdom can guide you better than your own limited understanding. And when sincerity becomes the foundation of your actions, doors begin to open that once seemed impossible. But there is another reality that must be acknowledged. Walking a path guided by faith does not mean life will suddenly become free of difficulty. Challenges will still appear. People may still misunderstand you. Circumstances may still test your patience. Yet when your heart is anchored in trust toward God, those challenges lose their power to control your spirit. Instead of breaking you, they refine you. Instead of discouraging you, they deepen your determination. Instead of convincing you to quit, they remind you that perseverance is part of the journey. God created human beings with extraordinary potential. Within every person exists the capacity for resilience, compassion, creativity, and strength. But those qualities often remain hidden until life demands that they emerge. Think about how many times you surprise yourself with your own strength. Moments when you thought you could not continue, yet somehow you did. Moments when you thought your heart could not recover from disappointment, yet over time it healed. That strength did not appear from nowhere. It was placed inside you by God long before you even realized it existed. And today that same strength remains within you. You may not feel it constantly. You may have days where exhaustion clouds your perspective. But strength does not disappear simply because you feel tired. It waits patiently beneath the surface, ready to rise again when you remember who you are and who guides your path. This is why remembrance is powerful. When you remember how God carried you through past storms, it becomes easier to trust that future storms will also pass. When you remember the times your prayers were answered in unexpected ways, it becomes easier to believe that current prayers are also being heard. And when you remember that every day you wake up is another gift of life, it becomes easier to appreciate the opportunities that still exist in front of you. Too many people underestimate the significance of simply being alive. They focus so heavily on what they do not have that they overlook the immense value of what they still possess. Breath in your lungs, a mind capable of reflection, a heart capable of hope. These are not small things. They are signs that your story is still unfolding. As long as you are alive, the possibility of change remains. As long as you are alive, the opportunity to grow remains. As long as you are alive, God's guidance remains accessible. So do not underestimate this moment. Our hearing these words today, allow them to awaken something inside you. Allow them to remind you that your life is not drifting without purpose. Even when you cannot see the full picture, even when the road ahead feels uncertain, you are still part of a greater design shaped by divine wisdom. There may be dreams you placed on hold because life became difficult. There may be goals you quietly abandoned because doubt whispered that they were unrealistic. But sometimes God calls people back to those dreams when the time is right, not necessarily in the exact form they once imagined, but in a way that aligns with a deeper purpose. Dreams rooted in sincerity and goodness often carry meaning beyond personal success. They become tools for helping others, for spreading hope, for creating positive change in the world around you. And perhaps the experiences you went through were not meant to destroy those dreams, but to reshape them, to refine them, to align them with something more meaningful than you originally realized. God often works through transformation rather than instant perfection. The path forward may require patience. It may require courage to take small steps even when the entire road is not visible yet. But every meaningful journey begins exactly that way, with a step taken in faith. You do not need to know everything about tomorrow to begin moving forward today. You simply need the willingness to trust that God will guide the next step when the time comes. That is where real peace begins to grow inside a person's heart, not in having complete control, but in understanding that control ultimately belongs to God, whose wisdom far exceeds human understanding. When you accept that truth, the weight you have been carrying begins to lighten. The pressure to solve everything alone begins to fade. You begin to breathe a little easier because you realize you were never meant to carry the entire burden of life by yourself. God is the ultimate guide and is the ultimate source of strength. God is the one who sees possibilities where humans see limitations. And the moment you truly internalize that truth, something remarkable begins to happen. Your fear starts losing its influence. Your doubts become quieter. Your hope grows stronger. You start recognizing that the same God who created the stars in the vast sky is fully capable of guiding the path of a single human life. And if God can manage the balance of the entire universe with perfect order, He tied the details of your journey as well. So lift your heart today, lift it above worry, lift it above the voices that try to convince you that your future is small. Because when God expands a person's destiny, it often begins with a moment exactly like this, a moment where faith is awakened again, where courage begins to rise again, where hope becomes stronger than doubt. And perhaps this very moment on this very day is the beginning of that awakening within you. And now, as this message reaches its final moments, pause for a second and truly reflect on everything that has been spoken into your heart, not as just words you heard, not as another message that will fade away with time, but as a reminder planted deeply within your spirit. Because if you are still here, if you have listened all the way to this point, then something inside you refused to walk away. Something inside you knew that this moment carried meaning. This was never just about listening to this was about awakening something that may have been quiet inside you for a long time. It was about reminding you that even when life becomes confusing, even when the road feels uncertain, even when the world around you seems to move in directions you cannot control, one truth remains steady above everything else. God is still in control. And when you truly accept that truth, something powerful begins to shift inside your heart. You stop measuring your life only by what you see. Immediately in front of you, you stop allowing temporary setbacks to convince you that your journey has lost direction. You begin to understand that life is larger than a single moment, larger than a single struggle, larger than a single disappointment. Your story is unfolding under the guidance of God, and that means every chapter, even the difficult ones, carries purpose. Look back at your journey for a moment. Think about the days when you felt weak but somehow kept moving forward. About the nights when you wondered how you would make it through the next challenge, yet somehow the morning still came and you found the strength to continue. Those were not random moments of survival. Those were moments where God's unseen support carried you further than your own strength could have gone. And if God carried you through those moments, then understand this clearly: the same guidance that protected you before has not disappeared now. God has been with you through every season, through the moments of confusion, through the moments of growth, through the quiet battles you fought that no one else even knew existed. God saw your perseverance. God saw your effort. God saw the sincerity in your heart when you chose to keep believing even when doubt tried to take over. And that perseverance matters, because faith is not proven when everything is easy. Faith reveals its true strength when a person chooses to trust even when life becomes complicated. It reveals itself when continues walking forward even when the road is unclear. That is the kind of faith that transforms lives, and perhaps that is the kind of faith God has been strengthening inside you through everything you have experienced. So now, as this message comes to its end, carry this understanding with you into the days ahead. Do not allow fear to speak louder than your faith. Do not allow uncertainty to convince you that your future is limited. The path ahead of you is still unfolding, and the wisdom guiding that path is greater than anything the human mind can fully comprehend. Your life still holds purpose. Your presence in this world still matters. There are still opportunities waiting ahead of you that you cannot yet see. There are still moments of growth, moments of peace, moments of victory that will arrive at exactly the right time according to the plan of God. But those moments will reveal themselves as you continue moving forward with trust. So wake up tomorrow with a renewed sense of courage. Walk through your days remembering that you are not alone in your journey. Speak to God with sincerity. Seek wisdom in every decision. Choose patience when life tests your endurance. And most importantly, hold firmly to hope. Hope is not weakness. Hope is a declaration that your heart refuses to surrender to despair. Hope is the quiet confidence that no matter how dark a moment may appear, the light of God's guidance is still present beyond what your eyes can see. And one day, perhaps sooner than you expect, you will look back at this moment. You will remember the season you are in right now. You will remember the uncertainty you once carried, and you will see clearly how every step of the journey was leading you exactly where you were meant to go. Because when God guides a life, nothing is wasted. Not the struggles, not the waiting, not even the tears that once fell when the road felt too heavy. All of it becomes part of the story that shapes your strength, reveals your purpose. So, if you saw this message on March 14, take it as more than coincidence. Take it as a reminder that your heart was meant to pause today and remember something essential. Your life is still under the care and wisdom of God. Walk forward with that truth. Carry it into every challenge, every decision, every dream that still lives inside your heart. Because your journey is not ending here. Your journey is continuing under the watchful guidance of God, whose wisdom never fails, whose mercy never disappears, and whose plan for your life is still unfolding in ways greater than you can imagine. And with faith in God, the best chapters of your story may still be ahead.